right, everybody, we have gone through all 32 teams, and today we are looking at my favorite team in the entire world, the team I would have built with the Toronto Maple Leafs draft picks going back to 20, I guess in this database, 21. I am obviously biased. I don't need to see comments about how biased I am towards the players that I like. I get it. These guys are good in my opinion, and I think that the majority of them have a chance of being an NHL player. Starting in the core category, I've got Teddy Stiga. Gold medal winning hero of the US national team at the World Juniors this year. I think Teddy Stiga is the man. I love this guy. He is a workhorse on the ice, but has so much skill, so much energy, and for a guy who went from being a scratch at the World Juniors to winning the gold medal for his team, that just is music to my ears. I love this guy to death. I think he could be a great NHL player. He is a little bit small, but I mean, I'm not betting against a kid like Teddy Stiga. I think he's gonna work out just fine and be a guy who you can win playoff games with. He's tenacious, he's aggressive, he's got skill and finishing ability, and honestly, when I watched him this year and I saw him off and on playing with James Hagens, I don't know why Nashville didn't combine those two guys in the NHL, but the Nashville Predators, I think, have a potential steal on their hands. I love this guy. I love him to death. Jumping down to the depth category, there is a lot of good players in here for me. Topias Hunanen went back to Finland and had a fantastic season. Amongst his age group, he was the leading scorer in Liga, and I don't think it was particularly close. This is a guy who also played a ton on a team that barely didn't get relegated, but you might make the argument that they didn't get relegated because of him. He had a ton of points in that series against Lahti to keep his team in Liga, and to me at the World Juniors, I thought he looked really good there too, playing on the first or second line, depending on who you ask. Not the biggest guy in the world, but I think there's a lot of upside here. I tracked a few games of him this year. The tenacity, the energy. I feel like a bottom six energy winger is not out of the question for him, and I would love to see him a little more confident with the puck in the offensive zone, make decisions a little bit quicker, because he does so many things so well, and I can't believe he's still not drafted into the NHL, but hey, that's half the guys on this list, and we'll see how this year goes for him, but I loved what he had in the tank last year. Luke Misa is on here, another really strong player this year. Again, similar to a Teddy Stiga, I felt like Porter Martone really was at his best playing with Luke Misa on the ice, and I think Luke Misa being a player drafted where Calgary got him is a joke. I just think there is so much in Misa's game that I personally love up the middle of the ice, and yes, again, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but you get the puck off the boards, he's up the middle, transporting it up the ice, you're gonna get time in the offensive zone, and to me, in the NHL, that is valuable. That is really, really valuable. So he needs the right supporting cast around him. A guy like Porter Martone maybe comes to mind. But at the end of the day, I love this guy still. And after the season he had last year, he started a little bit slow, but his second half was really, really bonkers. And I really liked him every time I saw Brampton. We've got the Severstal boys in here too, Timur Mukhanov and Vladimir Gradinin. Now, you might look at the points for these guys and think I'm crazy, but Mukhanov plays down the lineup. And to me though, when I watch him, I just feel like he makes every minute count. He's physical, he's energetic, he's got a lot of ability to generate turnovers. He's a nice complementary energy player with some nice he's a nice complementary energy player that has some finishing ability that I think is not that far away from taking a step in the KHL this year, especially if Sharopovets can take a step as a group this year. They are quite young and trend a little bit smaller, so we'll see how this year goes for him. Gradinin, on the other hand, played a ton this year, and whenever I watched him with Sharopovets, I just kind of sat back and went, yeah, he's still the guy I love. There's just so much to love about his game, and yes, he's again not the biggest guy in the world, but the skating ability is remarkable. The defensive game for him has come a long way since he was a draft eligible. The only thing is still the problem with him when he was 17, and that's his strength on his feet. It is a bit of an issue. He's not going to be the guy that clears the front of the net, but the skill and the skating ability and the offensive potential is really, really strong with him, and I could easily see him taking a big step. Russian coaches find every reason not to play a kid very much, and this guy was playing like 20-25 minutes a night, depending on the night. So there's that. Gavin Brindley, the brand new Colorado Avalanche, is in here. Did not have a great year, not gonna lie. I do think that when I watched him with Cleveland this year, I thought he played really, really well and was doing everything but scoring points. And I feel like Colorado is a fantastic fit for him. I could easily see this guy challenge for an NHL job pretty much right away because he does have that energy and that skill that I think Colorado really values. He's speedy, he's intense, he's physical, and I think there's a lot to like with with him, and I feel like this could be a good bounce back year for him. I have a lot of faith in Brindley, and I know I'm not the only one who believes that. There's another small defenseman in here, Yuri Tahacek, another player who I just can't believe is still not even taking a flyer on in the NHL. Not that long ago, I remember watching the Czech team at the World Juniors and thinking Tahacek just looked like a guy who was doing really good stuff. He was playing with David Jiricek a lot, and in my opinion, mopping up for a lot of the things that Jiricek didn't do particularly well. This is a guy with an absolute cannon from the point as well. Yes, the point production wasn't quite the same as the prior year for his team in Czechia. Yes, that team wasn't particularly great. He is making the jump to go to Finland this year, and I will be very curious to see how that jump goes. He still had points on 23% of his team's goals, which for a defenseman is very, very high. So for me, I still think there's a lot of potential with Tahacek. This might be a guy that either is stuck in Europe forever because of his size, or 24, 25-year-old season, he goes to the World Championships and has a really good showing and someone gives him a flyer at that point. But at the end of the day, I love this kid. I still do. I would absolutely have taken him in the draft every single year over the last few years, but here we are. The Brunis boys are in here as well, at least two of them. Michael Sverchek and Gustav Hillstrom. I think both of these guys as top 9 NHLers, maybe fourth line guy for Hillstrom. It's easy to see. Super, super smart, super energetic, super physical in especially Sverchek's case. I think Sverchek has a lot of upside, and so I will be very curious to see how this year goes, because in pro hockey, he did not look out of place in the SHL this year, had some pretty good possession numbers, and it's easy to see why. Hillstrom needs to take some steps, but I believe he'll get there. And the last name in here is Quinn Beauchene, who again, I just love the offensive tools in his game. He's an elite level skater, just a really, really mobile player, gets around the ice really well, and the finer points of defending might be a bit of an issue right now, but he isn't particularly small. I don't think he plays very small either, and I think that over the next few years, as the Guelph Storm grow a little bit, he could be a really nice pickup for Pittsburgh, and in turn, my team here. His second half this year was about as productive in terms of involvement in team offense as a lot of defensemen drafted way higher than him, and I think that that's worth betting on, and I feel like there might be something intriguing with him. In the maybes category, I don't want to spend too much time in here because there's just a lot of guys in here you've probably heard me talk to death about. Danilu Stinkov's been bumped down here. Again, I just didn't see the step forward in his game that I really wanted to see this year. I do think there are some areas that are a bit better in terms of his defensive positioning and just overall being a little more involved defensively, but I feel like he's a long shot at this point, but still very, very young, and I'll be very curious to see how this year goes because he played the full season last year against men, and I don't think he looked that bad, but it was Swiss second division, but I could see him ending up a tier higher again after a good season in Switzerland, regardless of the level he plays in. Speaking of Switzerland, we got Ludwig Johnson. I don't know what else to say about this guy. I mean, I was probably, I think, if I recall, the only guy who even brought this guy up in the 2024 class. He was way better than I thought he would be in Switzerland at the top division this year. I mean, we just talked about Danila Stinkov. You want to talk about a kid leapfrogging a guy. Ludwig Johnson basically forced his way onto the National League team after his junior play at the beginning of the year. I thought he looked great at the World Juniors as well. He got a couple of games with the men's national team this year. Like, what? At the end of the day, I think there's a great offensive defenseman here. I just don't know about the defensive side of the game translating to North America right now. Of all teams in the National Hockey League, Utah picked him. I don't know how to make sense of any of this, but honestly, with Ludwig Johnson, ever since the first minute I saw him last year, I don't know what to make sense of with him at all, and I'm just along for the ride at this point. I love this guy, and I'm really happy for the season he's had, and I am really glad that I've had my name hitched to this guy for 2 seasons now. Daniel Niemanen, I could say almost the same thing. I am also surprised with how well Niemanen played in Liga this year, but at the same time, I don't think it was quite as surprising as a guy like Ludwig Johnson. Similar-ish players. I think there's a lot of good offensive tools in Niemanen's game. Really, really good skater. He's not small, neither is Johnson, and I think at the end of the day, there's just a nice 200-foot player here, and the fact that he was picked this year doesn't really surprise me all that much. I think he's a player who deserved a pick in 2024, and I think he could have a really good season in Liga this year as long as he's getting played more and more and more. As Pelicans manage to keep their spot in Liga, I think he will take on a bigger role and look pretty good doing it. We've got Thomas Galvesson here, and I thought he was we got Thomas Galvesson here, and honestly, I started the season a little bit skeptical on him watching him in Czech League because I just felt like he didn't have the same amount of juice, the same amount of skill and confidence and speed with his feet, and that was really tough for for me to see. But then I saw him at the World Juniors and I went, oh no, this is the guy. This is him. This is the guy I really, really like again. Because the skating and the dynamic ability really came back, and just really against junior competition, he looked more than comfortable again. And the story with him is the same as so many others though on this list. He's not the biggest guy in the world, and so he's not going to get drafted. All right, I mean, fair enough, but I thought his second half was really, really good in the Czech League. I could see him having a really strong season this year now that he's had quite a lot of experience at that level. I think there's more than enough here that can overcome the concerns about his size, but I do feel like his defensive game, similar to guys like Ustinkov and Johnson and Niemanen, all has enough holes in it that it might hold them back from an NHL job. But at the end of the day, this is the type of group that I feel like I can live with maybe some defensive flaws because their offensive game is so good. And the other benefit is that all of these players are under the age of 20 and going into their second year of pro opposition. That's something I value, and they are all playing in pretty solid European leagues. They're not playing in Kazakhstan, everybody. These guys are playing in some tough leagues. So yeah, they might not score the same amount as some other defensemen, but they're learning the game the right way. As much as I hate saying that, but this is the situation I want a lot of these undersized guys in because it really does test their limits. Then there's just some fun skilled wingers here. Alexis Gendron, Simon Robertson, Arvid Drott, and Leo Sundqvist. I think they're all long shots. I do really like Simon Robertson though. I thought Gendron had a really strong year this year, and we'll see if he can diversify his game into an NHL gig at some point. But really just top to bottom, there's a lot of intriguing talent on this list that I just really, really like. And these players, I, for the most part, have been really happy with their development. And a few of them, the guys that I picked up this year, I just can't believe that they either did not get drafted at all or went where they did. They just seemed like no-brainers at the time for me. Except maybe Sundqvist, but I just really love him. He's a lot of fun. You should check him out. And in the bottom tier, we have guys where I'm just waiting for something that just is not going to come. With Joel Janssen, he just did not play very much at all in the SHL, and when I watched him, he's really fun, but I'm not sure it's enough. He's not very good under pressure, he's not very evasive, he's not quick enough, but he is very skilled, he's very fun to watch, but I don't know about the NHL. Same thing goes for Yegor Klimovich. I thought he was a joke in terms of how good he was in the Russian Junior League this year, but then you see him in the KHL, and he's just not really much of a factor. This is going to be a big year for him. I still think there's a lot of offensive upside with him, but every time I watch him in the KHL, I go, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough to really make it, so I'm a little bit skeptical. Lucas Gustafsson, I just haven't seen much growth in his game, honestly. He hasn't earned more minutes in Boston College. He's been leapfrogged by a few other players. We'll see how this year goes, but whenever I watched him this year with Boston College, those offensive tools were still there, but in terms of the skating ability and the awareness defensively and the positioning, I'm just not sure it was all there enough to really put him as an NHL potential player, so he ends up in the bottom tier as well. And there are no goaltenders. I don't want to pretend like I know enough about goaltenders to know how to draft them, and the one I liked last year that I might have given a 7th round pick to this year was Sergei Dolgov, but I liked Leo Sundqvist more. He played men's hockey. I thought he looked pretty fun there. Got some scoring chances in the SHL, which you can't say for a lot of the guys teams draft. So no goalies. Sorry, goalie people. Might be more of a priority for me in the free agent market anyway, and you see how it goes. So if I'm rating myself, I'm giving myself a 1A. Everything's perfect. None of these guys are ever not going to play in the NHL. I'm a genius, and this is the end of the series. So thank you very much for watching, whether you watched just this one or all of the above. It's really, really great to do these every year. It always keeps me in check a little bit. I love reading all of your comments, regardless of what you might think of me. I assure you, I watch all of these players at least a little bit over the course of the season, and I really think this is a good exercise to keep an eye on teams and check my thoughts and see where things go with players that maybe I'm not the biggest fan of or too much of a fan of, and try to hone things over the years, and every year is a baby step. So thank you very much for watching. Again, if you haven't, definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We really appreciate the support. Consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca, or consider becoming a member on the channel, which gives you a $5 a month membership over at Scouching.ca. With that out of the way, thanks very much for watching, and pretty soon after this comes out, we're returning with Scouching Live, so you can look forward to that. You can mark your calendars. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern and Thursday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern. So stay tuned for those, and we will see you then, and thanks for watching these.